This week on the Net Cafe, meet the author of Tales of the City, Armistead Maupin. He's just put his new book, The Night Listener, on the web. If you want to publish your novel, you can do it on a new website called mightywords.com. This man used to be an All-American and world champion sailor. Now he's running a new website for sailors called boats.com. Frustrated dealing with Priceline for your air travel? There's a new option created by the airlines. It's called hotwire.com. And the most popular new financial site on the web isn't a bank, it's paypal.com. We'll show you how to use it. 5 new websites and the people behind them. This week on the Net Cafe. Net Cafe is made possible by rondiamond.com, the oldies site on the internet. Music and memories from the 50s, 60s, and 70s, not just another jukebox. Additional support comes from the law offices of Ivan Hoffman, Lawyering with Integrity for Internet law, copyright, trademark, and other intellectual property law. And by TechWeb for up-to-the-minute technology news. Hi, and welcome to the Net Cafe. We're here again at Metreon in San Francisco, a cool new cyber hangout, and we're in Microsoft SF, one part of Metreon. Lots of stuff to look at, play with, and buy here. Now, when it comes to buying stuff on the internet, there's still a problem for consumer e-commerce, and that is payment. Some people are still afraid to put their credit card numbers out there on the web, or if you sell something on eBay, you really want to ship that box and hope that somebody's going to actually send you the check in the mail. There's a very good new solution, though, for moving money on the internet. It comes from a site called paypal.com, and Andrew has all the details.
David, you're from X.com, and you guys have a product, PayPal, which is an online payment system. Why don't you take me through sort of how an online payment system works for someone who wants to either send or receive money on the web?
Sure. Well, X.com's PayPal allows people to send and receive money online instantly, securely. It's fast. All you do is you go to the website, X.com, and you go to send money. All you do is you type in someone's email address, the amount you want to send, and then choose how you want to pay. So you can pay with a credit card, you can pay with a bank account.
So they'll deduct it right out of my credit card?
Yes.
Or a bank account?
Yes.
Okay. And then how does it work for the other person on the other end when they get that?
Well, what happens is the person you're paying will receive an email in their inbox, and it says, "You've got cash," kind of like you've got mail.
I would like to get that kind of email. I haven't gotten one of those yet.
It's a nice email to get.
Yeah.
So you just click the link in the You've Got Cash email. It takes you to X.com, and there's a one-page sign-up. And you just sign up, and then the money is instantly available to you. You can do with it whatever you want.
Now, instantly available, how do I extract it out of my email? I want the greenbacks here.
Sure. Well, there's a few things you can do. The first thing you can do is if you want the money right away, you can simply transfer it electronically to your bank account.
Okay.
So
I have to set that up with my institution then, or?
No, not at all. You just type in your bank account on the X.com website, and it will transfer the money directly from your X.com account to your bank account.
With no intervention on my part?
No, that's right. You don't have to call your bank. You don't have to do anything else.
That's amazing. If that works, that's worth it right there.
Yes. And if you're still in sort of the snail mail world, you can also request a check, and we can mail you a check. But there's another thing you can do with it, which is you can send the money on to other people, because once the money is in your account, now you can basically email it on to other people.
Okay.
And in fact, there are over 2 million auctions on eBay, which accept X.com as a way to pay.
Okay.
And there's also 200,000 businesses have signed up. So you can buy goods and services on thousands of websites on the internet and pay them with money in your X.com account.
Okay, so you guys act as sort of like a holding house, if you will, for the money in the middle. Now, you mentioned auctions, businesses. Who's actually using this the most, I guess, right now?
Well, it's a combination of different types of people. We have about 3.5 million users. We're actually the fastest growing financial website on the internet. About 20,000 new users are signing up each day. And in fact, we're now the #1 financial website on the internet. We get more traffic than any other bank or brokerage.
Interesting. Now, I can see this as being used by, maybe kids and their families. The kids away at college, and the family wants to use this to send money. Are you seeing it's really more of a certain demographic that's using this?
Well, there are a lot of person-to-person applications. So for instance, let's say we're at lunch and we want to split the bill, and you don't have enough money and I loan it to you.
Right.
Well, then you can just pay me back by emailing me the money.
Okay.
Or if you've got a kid at college you want to send the money, so you can do that too. But increasingly, we're also seeing people using X.com's PayPal for business applications. So I mentioned the auction context on
Makes
eBay.
sense.
We're the way to pay on eBay.
Right.
But also we're accepted now on thousands of websites as a way to accept payment.
Okay. Now, the one thing that comes to mind when anybody talks about money in the internet is fraud or insurance or things like that. How are people guaranteed that they're not going to have some kind of fraud perpetrated against them using this?
Well, we take security very seriously, obviously. And we've done several things. First is our site is extremely secure. It's got the highest level of encryption you can have. In fact, Martin Hellman, who's the inventor of encryption, which is basically the security standard for the internet, serves on our board of advisors. Second thing,
so encryption and then?
So encryption makes our site secure. We've done other things. We have $100,000 of account insurance on your X.com account. So we'll basically protect you up to $100,000 if someone were to basically steal your password and break in. We also not only protect your account data and information, we protect your purchases. So if you basically buy something from anyone with an X.com account who's been verified through our sort of proprietary verification system, we will guarantee your purchase against fraud.
Okay, so it's similar in some respects to a credit card, but it sounds like you may have even upped the limit a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. It's basically an additional protection on top of what you would get with just a credit card.
Right. Okay, interesting concept. We'll have to see how it works. Maybe I'll go buy something myself. Thank you, David.
Thank you very much.
Well, if you're a fan of the Tales of the City novels by Armistead Maupin, you're in for a big treat. Number one, you can go on the web and actually listen to the author reading his new book, The Night Listener. Number two, you're going to get to meet him right now. Thanks for spending some time with us.
Nice to be here, Stuart.
Let me ask you, first of all, what is going on? On Salon.com, you can go there and actually hear you read your new book.
That's right. Every night, there'll be a new chapter streamed until October 2nd, when the hardcover comes out. And this is actually the first time ever that a novel has been serialized in audio on the internet prior to its publication.
Now, were you a big internet techie kind of guy?
I'm hopelessly illiterate in that department. As a matter of fact, this has really brought me kicking and screaming into the 21st century. Last 2 weeks, I've been, learning to do email.
I mean, you didn't even know what Salon was, right?
Well, I knew what Salon was years ago when it started up. I mean, years ago when it started up, I didn't. Dave Talbert, the head of Salon, asked me if I would contribute a piece, and I had to have somebody explain to me how there could be a magazine on the computer. I didn't understand that.
And now you're doing it.
Well, and the great thing is that for an old-fashioned storyteller like me, this is a extraordinary outlet, because basically I get to tell a bedtime story to the world every night in a very personal way. People can stream the chapter when they want to, and then at the end of the whole process, download the entire story for a price.
Yeah, you're from the good old Southern tradition of oral storytelling.
That's right.
You I know you've talked about, you actually like the idea of being able to read aloud to people, don't you?
Love it. I'd rather read than write, if the truth be known. And when I was a kid, when I was 8 years old, I used to make people, my friends, sit around the campfire and listen to my ghost stories. And when you really think about it, the computer is the campfire of the 21st century. So there's something kind of wonderful about this completely modern technology being married to the world's oldest performing art, really, storytelling.
Right. Now, what about from the reader or listener's point of view? Is it a better experience, you think, for me to hear you read it than for me to imagine what the intonation is when I just read the words on a page?
Well, it just depends on what you like, but I have always written to be read aloud. I didn't realize
you hear it as you write it?
I do, and I didn't know that for years. I thought, well, I'm just writing, and it's taking a while, but it was taking a while because I was imagining how it would be performed. My partner Terry used to come into the room and find me gesturing wildly at the computer screen as I was composing, because it is a completely oral
composing,
thing.
I mean, that's the word, right? You said composing, not writing.
Well, and it's a kind of there's a musical thing that happens.
Absolutely.
I have to get a particular rhythm in a paragraph to make it work in that way.
You have an interesting background. You're from the South, North Carolina, and your first writing job was with a sort of strange ally, right?
Yeah, with Jesse Helms. He gave me my first job at WRAL Television, news writing, back in 1967.
You never know.
He thought I was the hope of the future, and he was right.
Now, let me ask you about the book, The Night Listener, which is the book you're doing right now. Can you just tell us a little bit about what the book's about?
Sure. I mean, one of the reasons this story works so well on the internet, I didn't figure this out. My business partner, Terry Anderson, had the brainstorm. The central character of the piece is a radio storyteller.
Right.
A man who tells stories on an NPR show, as a matter of fact, and here finds himself being contacted by one of his listeners, hence the title. So it's ideal for the internet and for a radio format because it becomes a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy. The central character who's speaking in a first-person voice is speaking through me on the internet. So I become a radio star in the process of doing this.
Well, what is the future? Do you think, I mean, people worry, will the books survive? You know, are kids today actually going to read books when they grow up? Or is it all going to be what you're doing right now, in fact, on the web? Do you think about that?
I do, but I like this so much because I think it serves books. I mean, this is actually a wonderful promotional tool for a writer because it's no different, really, from what Dickens did years ago. He toured the last decade of his life reading from his own work, and that sent people back to get the permanent form. And I believe on some level, in my heart of hearts, that the book will always be the permanent form. Maybe I'm completely wrong.
The piece of paper, you're going to hold it there.
This will be quoted years from now. The guy saying the automobile would never work.
Right.
But at least for my lifetime, they're going to be books, and I'm happy about that.
When you write, do you see actually writing for the internet at some point? I mean, is that like a different language, a different way of writing if you're writing that you know is going to be read in some electronic or serialized or perhaps oral form?
Well, you're asking maybe the wrong guy or the right guy, because my writing started as a serial in a newspaper.
Yeah.
And I had to catch people in a very short amount of time, and I learned to write in a kind of terse, clean language that appeals to me anyway. Most of my literary mentors write that way. So I think what I do would be perfectly suited even for in print form on the internet. There's not much more that I would trim out of it.
Okay, and so the book is The Night Listener.
Yeah.
For a while, you can listen to it for free at salon.com, and then you can, right, if you go there, there's a buy now little tab, and you can click it and buy it at Amazon
That's
or
right.
wherever else.
Yeah, and you can talk about it on my website, which is thenightlistener.com.
Oh, great.
A lot of people
Get your own book club going.
Well, that's what the web's great for.
Armistead, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Well, let's say you are not Armistead Maupin. You're not a very well-known author, but you are a writer, and you've got what you think is a great manuscript, and you want to get it published. The internet comes to your rescue now with a great new site called mightywords.com. Our producer, Sarah O'Brien, is talking with the company's CEO.
You know, the internet is a little bit like vanity publishing to me, but in a way, your website is taking that into a whole nother step. Could you explain to me what's going on with Mighty Words?
Yeah, well, there's a little bit of vanity publishing too, but I think it's really direct publishing. You can go direct. Stephen King can go direct. Patricia Cornwell can go direct. Top authors can go direct. And it democratizes the internet. It's like auctioning on eBay. You can sell your $85,000 BMW, or you can sell your 50-cent piece of junk. It doesn't matter. The internet makes it available to everybody.
But if I'm Stephen King, wouldn't I want to go ahead and have my bestseller out there on the drugstore shelves?
If it's a book, you would. Yeah, a paper book. You might also want an electronic book format too. People love a book. But what if you're Stephen King and you wrote a 66-page short story? You're never going to get that in the drugstore anyway. It's just not big enough.
Well, explain to me about how Mighty Words works. It sounds like you don't have to have a full novel. It's got to be longer than a magazine article.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be. It can be a book or it can be a magazine article, but if you want to sell it, it's probably best that it's somewhere in between. And the reason is people are comfortable in downloading and printing from the internet. If it's 50 pages long, you can't publish it, even if you're Stephen King, in a magazine. It's too long for a magazine. You can't publish it in a book unless it's a whole collection of short stories because it's too short for a book. It's not since Charles Dickens in A Christmas Carol way back when where he made that popular. Now a 50-page thing's hard to publish except on the internet.
Now, explain how you do that price-wise. I mean, how do you pay people? How do people buy it?
Well, they pay for it. It's secure, so that if you buy it, it comes and opens on your computer, fine. And if you want to open it on a second computer, that's fine too. But if you forward it on email, someone gets a nice friendly note saying, hey, you know, to get information about this, click here, or to pay for it, click there. But they have to buy it before they pay for it. And if you're the author, you set the price.
Well, now I understand there's some kind of monthly fee for having your work on Mighty Works, as well as some sort of split with you.
Yeah, there is a monthly fee. It's $1 a month, which is incredibly low. It's probably too low, but it's $1 a month just as a maintenance fee. And then when you sell it, suppose you charge $5, you keep $2.50, we keep $2.50, which goes to support the website and pay the credit card company and all those things.
Now, how do you decide how much you should charge for your novella, I guess you would call it?
Well, what's it worth to you? If you're a top author, Stephen King's just charging $1 per chapter. That seems a little low to me.
Yeah.
A lot of people charge $5, some people charge $7.95. It depends, if it's need to know, need to have information for professionals, which is what's selling best up there right now. They'll charge $20, $30, $40 for it. Some people have charged, like a research report, $1,000, and it still sells.
Well, now that brings me thinking about fatbrain.com, which was sort of your first site, then Mighty Words. FatBrain is sort of a different angle on content distribution. Explain it.
FatBrain it started mainly about books. It's a bookstore. In fact, it's the third largest internet bookstore in the world, behind Amazon and Barnes & Noble. It's the largest technical bookstore in the world. So it sells professional books. That includes business, medicine, computing, all those kinds of things. And also training materials, information for the professions is what it sells. And when we introduced eMatter, which is this electronic publishing initiative, it turns out the people who came there to publish were not only professionals, but also people like Stephen King and Arthur C. Clarke and so on. So we spun off Mighty Words as a separate company to address all subject areas, and FatBrain stayed focused on those three that people are really interested in.
Now, why should someone buy, No Name Jones' book? I mean, how do they know they're going to like it?
Well, they probably wouldn't, and so that's a little bit of an issue. It's a little bit like an auction on eBay, but what happens is they can read user reviews, they can see the bestseller lists, they can see people who bought this also bought, and it just causes the good stuff to bubble to the top and the bad stuff eventually to go away.
And how do you get this content? Are you going out and soliciting people?
We are, to some extent. We've done advertisements for authors. We try to talk to authors quite a bit, and we have about 10,000 now, which is pretty amazing when you think about it. A community of 10,000 authors and growing all the time.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing more information about the site and learning more about it. Thank you very much.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Well, there are 77 million boaters in the United States, and altogether they spend about $23 billion a year buying boating products and services and supplies. So it sounds like a pretty good target for an internet business, and that's in fact what has happened with a new site called boats.com. And this is Stuart Johnston, one of the co-founders of boats.com. Let's talk about you for a second, because you've been in a boat all your life, it sounds like, from having read your bio. Give us your background.
Yeah, I've boated my entire life, starting since I was 6 months old, and fishing boats and sailboats.
And I mean, you did competitive sailing in college or something?
Yeah, I raced at Tufts University intercollegiately, was an All-American, and did very well. It was
You're a
lot of
boat
fun.
guy?
Yes.
Okay. Now let's talk about this particular business. What exactly is boats.com? Is this B2B? Is it meant for the average guy who's into boating?
Boats.com was designed to address the needs of the boater himself for finding, learning, dreaming, buying and selling boats. And what we have done is partnered with several industry-leading associations, the National Marine Manufacturers Association, as well as the Marine Retailers Association, to address the ability of boat companies and their dealerships to facilitate inventory turnover, the buying and selling of
That's a
used
lot of
boats.
big words. Normal people don't understand inventory turnover. I'm a guy who's interested in boating. Is there something on the site for me? Can I go there if I'm interested in buying a boat, learning to sail, whatever?
Yes, we have sections to buy a boat and sections to sell a boat. And the whole goal is to match buyers and sellers together.
Okay, so is this basically a marketplace for buyers and sellers of boats?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Exactly.
Now, are people going to, it seems to me a boat is an expensive, complicated purchase. Is someone going to actually buy a boat online?
Yeah, what we found is that people very much want to dream about, learn, and then find a place or find a boat that they're interested in. And what we have found already is that people in the under 30-foot boat marketplace already are buying boats online.
Really?
Yes.
So you can get enough information. I mean, what's a 30-foot boat going to cost me?
30-foot boats today will range from $25,000 to $75,000.
So people will make a $75,000 purchase decision just by the information they get online?
Yes, so long as it's deep enough and broad enough.
Really?
They feel comfortable with the boat that they're interested in.
Huh. Now, you mentioned the alliances you have. You know, that's one of the issues that's come up about boats.com. There's some controversy about the fact that you guys have been endorsed by a couple of the major marine industry associations. Tell us about that.
The reason that's a very interesting controversy, perhaps coming mostly from competitors, but I would say that the the benefit to the boating community, number one, is to grow boating per se.
Okay.
The real competitors to boating are the other recreational pursuits that families and friends get involved in. The NMMA and the MRA, when they went down the path of looking for a solution, had originally considered endorsing several companies and rapidly came to the conclusion that they needed to really focus their efforts on one solution so that people weren't getting fragmented or jumping to too many different sites and not providing a comprehensive solution.
So they went with you guys?
Yes.
But there's sort of an investor relationship there of some sort, isn't there?
There is a, yes, you could call it that.
Yeah. So I mean, they have a stake in the outcome in a sense.
Sure.
Okay.
But the NMMA as well as the industry does.
Okay. Now, what about boat manufacturers in particular? Is there an issue that some particular sites have deals with certain manufacturers, so as a guy who's looking for a boat, I might not get objective information on a site?
Well, the whole basis of the relationship was to have an open and level playing field. And one of the major problems that anyone faces on any one of these sites, any site for that matter on the web, is in fact finding objective information.
Sure.
And that's in fact one of the primary goals of boats.com.
Yeah. All right, so there's, boating is a big world. I mean, you got the sailboats and the power boats and the fishing boats. Are you covering that whole territory for anybody who's interested in getting out on the water?
We cover everything from rowboats to fishing boats to sailboats and motor yachts.
All right, now what about things besides buying boats, learning things? I know you have a glossary of boating terms on your site, things like that. You going beyond just the transaction part?
Yes, we are. We have sufficient content and community to make it fun and interesting for people to come to the site, dream about boats, learn about boats, and get information that they're looking to related to it, destinations and so on and so forth.
Well, the name says it all, boats.com. Thanks, Stu.
Thank you.
As any internet user knows, the web has revolutionized buying airplane tickets. First, there were sites like Expedia.com and Travelocity.com, then Priceline.com. Well, now there is a big new entrant in the field of online airplane tickets. It is called Hotwire.com. And Andrew is talking with the company's CEO.
Carl, Hotwire.com. Sounds like you guys are going to try to give Priceline a little run for their money with a new kind of an airline pricing, travel purchasing service. Tell me how it works, how it's different from Priceline.
Sure. We founded Hotwire because we really looked at the consumer needs that were unmet out there. And right now, consumers really don't have a good option to go to find a great deal in an easy-to-use process. The process that are out there, you have a great amount of selection if you want to pay full retail prices, but all the process that could actually save you money are pretty frustrating, hard to figure out how to use.
Okay, so what about like the name your own pricing kind of stuff?
Well, what we did is we actually turned that model on its head, and we said, you know, what's really important to consumers is getting a great deal on a quality airline. And so what we do is we actually take our customers' interests and ask the airlines to compete for them. And so a customer will come to our site and say they want to go from San Francisco to Chicago. We ask them a couple quick questions, and then we take that back to the airlines and make them all bid. And we'll serve up our consumer a great price based upon the lowest bid from the major airlines. So what this really means is our customers don't have to do a couple-hour homework assignment before coming to Hotwire. And they're going to walk away with a great deal in a couple easy minutes. I mean, our process is 6 quick steps, and it's generating tremendous savings. We're finding that, you know, we're saving our consumers 25% or more off of the best available published prices that they're going to see out there.
Okay, now how did this idea come about, and how are you bringing that kind of savings to people?
Sure. Well, the idea came about, before founding Hotwire, I was a partner at Texas Pacific Group, and we had a couple investments in the airline industry, and we started just analyzing what their needs were. And what we found is that they had a lot of extra seats that went unsold. And once the plane pulls away, those extra seats earn the airline $0. So we said, wouldn't it be great if there was a way that they could do that, sell some more of those seats in a way that didn't frustrate consumers. So we began last year exploring ways to really sort of create this opportunity for you know, the suppliers need to be met and for them to make more, you know, money on selling more seats, but at the same time giving consumers what they need, which is an easy way to save money.
Okay, so are the major airlines part of this company? I mean, have they invested? Are they?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. We actually decided that it would be great to start this business with a well-found business plan and great strategic partners. So we spent a lot of time last year, and we got 6 of the major airlines: American Airlines, United Airlines, U.S. Airways, Northwest, Continental, America West, to agree to be early adopters as well as equity investors. So, you know, we're off to a really good start. We've had a tremendous response from the early consumers as well as the suppliers.
So would you say this is an example of maybe the second phase of web commerce, where the first phase was you had sort of upstarts coming in, developing technologies and businesses, and now the major bigger companies are getting into this?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're going to see this as a start of a real trend, which is second generation internet businesses that actually embrace a lot of the sort of entrepreneurial and aggressive spirit that the internet offers in terms of rapidly developing business plans.
Right.
But here we're actually harnessing some of the old world economy companies and bringing them together in a way to really meet some unmet needs right now.
How big is this market? Right now, how many people or what's the volume of tickets that are being sold online? Where do you guys see that going in the next few years?
Yeah, I mean, we're just at the start of the online travel sector. I mean, last year they sold $8 billion worth of travel online, and that's supposed to double this year to $15 billion. But what's really impressive, that only 6% of travel is purchased online, and contrast that with, say, the personal computer industry, where roughly a quarter is purchased online. So we think that this can, easily multiply, and that will be a big part of that.
Right. Now, the one question I have, just bring it back to the consumer to wrap it up. If I go on to your site and I want to order a ticket, I can't actually pick the time, and that kind of stuff. Do you think that's going to be a hindrance in the future, or you think people are willing to adjust for the deal?
No, the consumers that we've tested this with and have experienced the hotwire buying process actually found that what we do replicates what they're doing anyway. And what they're doing is they're looking for the flight or the airline that's going to maximize their savings. And what we do is we just take that a couple steps further. So if we say, if you're willing to be flexible about when you leave and you let me go through our simple buying process, we can save you money. And our savings are unbelievable, especially for folks who forget to plan ahead, because there's really no leisure traveler options, and we're saving people 50% or more for the last minute traveler, in addition to the savings for folks who plan early on.
Sounds like good savings. Thank you, Carl.
I appreciate it. Thanks for being here.
That's it for this week's program. Hope you found out about some cool new websites, and thanks for joining us here at the Net Cafe. I hope we'll see you here again next week. Net Cafe is made possible by RonDiamond.com, the oldies site on the internet. Music and memories from the 50s, 60s, and 70s, not just another jukebox. Additional support comes from the law offices of Ivan Hoffman, lawyering with integrity for internet law, copyright, trademark, and other intellectual property law. And by TechWeb for up-to-the-minute technology news.
To purchase a videotape copy of today's program, call toll-free 1-888-310-7850. Please specify the show number and the topic.